We live in an age obsessed with speed. And we also live in an age obsessed with slowing down. The hustle culture burns people out. And the slow living crowd says, that's it, I'm done. I'm pulling back. Minimalism, naps, walks in the forest, journaling, herbal tea, no more busy. And listen, there is something broken about our modern rhythm. But let me tell you, the answer is not to romanticize laziness. Because I'm not interested in raising a generation of men who journal about how tired they are because they had to be useful for 5 days in a row. The church doesn't need less energy. We need more direction. Less meandering, more mission. Less scrolling, more building. Less self-care, more kingdom care. This episode is not about hurry versus slow. That's the wrong question. The real question is, are you living on purpose under the lordship of Jesus? Because when Christ is king of your calendar, you don't just hustle, you build. You don't just rest, you rejoice. You don't just check out, you charge forward. We're going to hit some hot takes today. We'll take a look at The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John Mark Comer. We'll express how slow living can quietly dress up sloth in a nice little robe. And we'll let Scripture speak not just about pace, but about purpose. Jesus doesn't call you to slow down. He calls you to take up your cross and follow. And that might be fast or slow, but it's always intentional. Let's jump in. Welcome to the 17:6 podcast, where we help you turn the world upside down by the lordship of Christ. I'm Trevor.
I'm Zach.
Well, here we are. I really like the idea of this episode. I'm looking forward to definitely discussing. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of things that we get wrong when we think about living a fast-paced life. Let's fix that.
Yeah,
it excites me. So what's been going on?
What's been going on? I was not prepared for this question.
I know. I'm so sorry.
You threw me off. I've been drinking coffee.
What's been going on? We've been recording all morning.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah.
No, that's a fine answer. I didn't know where to go.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I was like,
because Amos is eventually going to jump in here.
Yeah, we have a sponsor for this episode.
This is our first real sponsor, so we're going to make a dedicated sponsor read for this company. You ready?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, truth seekers and world changers, ready to flip your perspective and shake up the status quo? Tune in to the 17:6 podcast, where we're turning the world upside down through the lordship of Christ. Dive into bold conversations in biblical theology and the transformative power of faith that'll spark your soul and sharpen your mind. Each episode is packed with deep insights, unapologetic truth, and a call to live radically for Jesus. Whether you're wrestling with big questions or craving spiritual fire, 17:6 has you covered. Subscribe now on YouTube, Spotify, and Rumble, or join the revolution. Because with the 17:6 podcast, we're not just talking faith, we're living it.
Well, thanks to our sponsor for the day, the 17:6 podcast. I don't know why we would have a podcast sponsor on the podcast, but
Guys,
thanks guys.
We're doing something different.
Yeah, we are. So thanks guys. Thanks for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. Go and check out the 17:6 podcast. I think it's a real good podcast. It's starting up.
Hey, if we don't believe in ourselves enough to sponsor ourselves,
what are we even doing? That's
right.
True.
Yeah. Nobody else is doing this, guys. We are.
We're leading the way in innovation.
We are forging a new path.
We're there. So if you want to sponsor an episode, just send us an email. We'll read you. We gotta approve your product and service first. We'll send you a form to fill out if you want to sponsor us. That really refines it. Make sure that you're a Christian business.
Sponsor at
the 17:6podcast.com. Does that email work? Yeah, we'll find out. It should.
Wow. It's going to be a minute to recover from that.
Yeah.
So far untouched.
Good work, Amos.
Hey, thanks.
Good work.
It's awesome. So, should Christians live a fast-paced life?
Oh my goodness.
That's a question that's, I guess, that's around us at times. I do think about this. Maybe I'm moving too fast in life. Maybe I should slow down as a Christian. Am I missing something? Right. Did God lay out this type of life that's this fast-paced right now, or is this because of modern society?
Yeah. So this is it's a conversation that's been around for several years now, and it doesn't seem to be getting smaller. It seems to be getting bigger, and there's this increasing slow living movement that is arising right now.
Right.
And that's where I think that this conversation is really helpful. Not that this is going to solve the conversation, but we can throw in our 2 cents and try to think through it biblically and how do we contribute to this.
The big issue that you were discussing, which I 100% agree with, we don't want to overcorrect.
Right.
There's absolutely truth in this idea of being overly fast paced. That's not biblical, maybe in a way.
Yeah.
We don't want to overcorrect to where we're doing nothing.
Yeah. And that is my main concern as I'm reading the books that are coming out and listening to the conversations that are taking place, is that with this slow living movement that we are fixing for a hardcore overcorrect, and the Protestant work ethic that
that made Western culture.
Yeah,
it really did.
It's going to go the exact opposite direction, to where you don't want to hire a Protestant because they don't know how to work.
That is, man.
So,
good point.
Okay, so I will say the slow living movement, they are rightly identifying a problem. So there's definitely something wrong. They are, in my judgment, wrongly providing a solution.
Okay.
So, yes, we see a problem, but what you're offering is not a better solution.
Can you kind of briefly explain the problem that they're
Yes.
seeing?
So, feelings of, because of how much is expected out of people, there's this feeling of being overwhelmed.
Okay.
Or I'm always going. There's always the next thing to be doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Frantic almost.
Frantic. That's another good word to describe it. But my argument is that it's not the pace that's the problem. It's the lack of purpose.
Okay.
That's the problem.
Okay.
Okay.
So what is the solution that they, just quickly, just before we jump into it more in depth, what's the solution that they provide?
That they provide,
that
it really is just slowing down. We don't want to be
snail's pace.
Yeah, we don't want to feel the pressure of timelines. We want to live outside of timelines. Is a big one.
Well, God lives outside of time. God lives outside of time. So I mean, I guess, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
they don't have a point.
Yeah.
But
So we're going to get into a lot of the details on how that works out practically.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a lot of, if I'm supposed to be here at 6 o'clock and it's 5:30, I'm having a conversation with somebody, I'm just going to keep having the conversation with the person,
Yeah.
So, and try not to live by a schedule and timelines. Okay. So, but again, we're making the case that, pacing is not necessarily the problem.
Yeah.
It's the lack of purpose behind everything.
So just real quick. You went out of country last year, and how was that about people not sticking to a schedule? I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but this is a problem that you actually talked about when we were just discussing amongst ourselves.
Yeah. And not every country is the same way that we are, where there's a tight schedule.
Yes.
But there comes there's baggage that comes along. If you go to a lot of third world countries, they're not going to have the tight schedule. They're not going to have a life built off timelines.
Right.
And there's repercussions for that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
It means that there's not going to be things happening as quickly, and what that ends up with is there's just a lot more disorganization and that kind of thing.
So that's what I wanted to draw out for sure. Disorganization comes with no timeline, and that's, as Christians, I just don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off by presenting maybe two different perspectives. We're going to go over the perspective of a guy named John Mark Comer.
Okay.
And then we're going to compare and contrast that to the perspective of a guy named Tony Sumter.
Okay. Do you think John Mark enjoys the Gospels?
You would think so. His parents definitely predestined him to enjoy the Gospels.
Why am I saying that? John Mark.
There you go.
If you didn't listen to our Acts series, you should go back and then you'll understand who John Mark is. I don't know what episode that is. You got to listen to all of them. You'll find out.
Yeah, there you go. All right. So John Mark Comer, he wrote this book right here called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. I get on the camera. There you go.
Shout out.
Yep. There you go. So free advertisement for John Mark Comer. And obviously with the title, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, he is going to be on the slow living movement side.
Overcorrection though.
So here's my thinking on him. I would say that I definitely disagree with some of the things that he says.
Okay.
But only partially so.
Okay.
I have a feeling if he and I were to get together and have coffee or tea, whatever he drinks, and have an iron sharpening iron conversation. I have a feeling that he and I would probably land in a pretty similar location. Maybe not the exact same place, but the differences would be minute.
Okay.
My concern is not so much with what he intended to say, but with what the impact is going to be, what people are going to hear him saying and not totally understand where he's coming at. Okay. Yeah. And maybe there are some bigger differences that I'm just trying to, minimize, but I want to talk about specifically 4 things in this book that he brings up, 4 quotes. And I want to maybe nuance them and show why I don't think they're quite accurate. Okay. So we ready to go?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's rock and roll.
John Mark Comer, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, 4 critiques. All right. He argues, quote, "The new speed of life isn't Christian. It's anti-Christ." All right, so right there, I want to point out that for him, this conversation really is about speed. It's about pace. That's what, the new speed of life is the problem. The speed, the pace, is evil, and it's in opposition to Jesus. It's in fact anti-Christ. All right, I would make the argument that Jesus, via Scripture, doesn't condemn speed. Doesn't condemn a particular pace. So we're kind of starting off with, think about if I'm going to use a tool analogy, but if you have a square and you're using that to make all your marks and that kind of thing as you're drawing something out, if the square itself is bad, if you start off with a bad frame, then everything else will be off from there. And that's what I'm arguing when we're having this conversation about pace, is that we're having the wrong conversation. We're using the wrong square. The square itself is off. Okay. All right. So another thing he says, quote, "Hurry and love are incompatible." Okay. Hurry and love are incompatible. And in a lot of times, I understand, like, he makes this argument that if you are, rushing around and you're trying to lead your kids out the door and get them into the van and all that stuff, being in a rush and hurrying, it leads to unloving behavior. Okay. So a couple pushbacks against that. Is it the fact that you guys are on a schedule that's the problem, or is it your lack of self-control? Is it your lack of proactive thinking? You didn't get started early enough, all the different things. Is it really the fact that you're on a schedule and that you had to hurry and get something done, that's the problem? Or is it really kind of like a deeper behavioral issue?
Yeah. Usually it's a deeper behavioral issue, just coming from experience. If you don't know your purpose, if you don't have that trajectory on where you're going as a family, you're going to feel hurried. And then you can make this argument, I guess. Also, just really quick, the title of this book, it says The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, and then he marks out hurry. So it's not the ruthless elimination of hurry.
Oh, double negative.
Oh, gosh, I don't understand. Sorry. You go look at the title. I just caught it. I was watching Zach speak, and I'm like, oh, this is weird.
Yeah. All right. So some more pushback on the idea that love and hurry are incompatible. I would actually posit just the opposite. Sometimes love demands hurry because timelines do exist. Okay. All right. So Esther loves her people. Therefore, she has to hurry and intervene on their behalf and get the ball rolling for a solution to their predicament. Right.
Yeah.
So other situations that are modern day emergency issues. Okay. So if you have an ambulance driver, you have a firefighter, you have an ER doctor, right? You don't want them to have the mentality of love and hurry are incompatible.
That's right.
I find a different job.
Yeah. You chop your finger off, you only got so much time before you got to get that thing back on. I hope the ambulance driver or whoever's driving me is in a hurry because they love me.
Yeah. So sometimes love demands hurry, even on less extreme issues than emergency. If you are an hourly worker, okay. So for instance, at my job, it's important that I get the shipment on the truck and off by a certain time. Right. And that might mean I need to hustle. I need to move. I need to get things done. I may need to stay late. I need to work extra long. But the cost of me saying, well, I don't want to be rushed, I don't want to feel the pressure, is going to be that this truck doesn't deliver on time. And there's a crew waiting at the job site for maybe there's 20 of them, 25 of them. And now they're going to be sent home and not get paychecks this week. So there's now 20, 25 families that could be financially hurting because I didn't want to get myself in a rush.
Exactly. And this idea of the quickness of our transportation is new, but the idea of transporting and being on a timeline is not new. Any society was transporting something somewhere, and they had to be on a timeline to get it to the boat, to get it to the horse and buggy, because it was leaving at a certain time.
Right.
So yes, we may be moving faster to meet the transportation model, but that doesn't mean this is new. That doesn't mean that they've always hurried throughout history to make this timeline work for hourly workers. Sorry, I just think we need to just say that.
Absolutely. Another example, if you hire a plumber, there's going to be some things you really don't want him to hurry on, right? And we're not saying that hurrying 100% of the time is a good thing. We're saying there are times when you want to hurry. So for instance, if I'm paying this plumber hourly and I see that he is not in a hurry as he's cleaning up the mess, like that's when I do want you to hurry. I don't want to be paying you, I don't know, $150 an hour to be taking your time cleaning up a mess. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So think about those kinds of things. If this plumber really is treating the people the way that he wants to be treated, then he's going to know that there's sometimes when he needs to hurry and get something done if he's being paid hourly. All right. A third thing that is in this book that I would criticize a little bit. He says, in the Apostle Paul's definition of love, the first descriptor is patient. So reference to 1 Corinthians 13, love is patient and kind. Patient, he argues, is the opposite of hurry. And I understand the word is used that way sometimes. That's not what's meant here. Like long suffering, like the idea is patient is willing to overlook an offense. The patience that's being talked about here is how do I put it on the notes? Patience is as a component of love has to do with overlooking an offense rather than not living by a timeline. All right, so it's a confusion of definitions. And then the fourth thing, this is just a historical inaccuracy. He says in 1879, you had Edison in the light bulb, which made it possible to stay up past sunset. And this is the problem right here. Before Edison, the average person slept 11 hours a night.
Oh man, I didn't realize that candles didn't exist before the light bulb. Huh. Weird.
Yeah. All right. So first off, it is possible that, and obviously almost definitely, that there were some people who slept 11-hour nights during the deep winter months when the sun is down longer.
Yeah.
Just like we have nowadays. Like not much different than what we still, yes, we have, but to your point, like we have electric lights, but there were candles then.
Yeah.
And there are plenty of historical attestations to people using candle lights to get more work done or read a book or write a book or whatever it is. So there is that. There's also journals, diaries, that kind of thing of people who were logging their calendar, kind of like how we do now, but it wasn't digital. And we can actually see how long they slept, and they would sleep kind of similar to what we do now. There's some people who slept, 4-hour nights, 6-hour nights, that kind of thing.
I'll only believe you on that point is if you tell me how many diaries and journals you read of people in that time frame.
All right, so I did not read a whole lot of journals and diaries.
Okay, but you read some.
Well, this is actually books. Like it'll be little mentions. Reading The Reformed Pastor by Richard Baxter.
Okay,
he didn't really go into that specifically, but you'll see little comments like that as you're reading historical works. So that's where they give that a lot of that information is just kind of the general lifestyle.
But what does the Bible say?
Yeah, here's what the Bible says. All right, so Proverbs 20:13. Love not sleep, lest you come to poverty. Open your eyes, and you will have plenty of bread. And that's just one verse. There's quite a few of those verses.
Okay.
But the Bible is kind of concerned about you liking sleep too much.
We tend to like being lazy rather than being productive.
Yeah. All right. So that's all the picking on John Mark Comer I have. I just want to clarify that this book was had a lot of really good things in it. I'm not just trying to poo-poo on the book.
Yeah.
If you might pick the book up and pick up a lot of really good things from it. It's just not a perfect book.
Right.
So
again, we're working on the overcorrection. We don't want to overcorrect.
Right.
Good points brought up. But the worry of overcorrection, of not wanting to actually be productive.
Mm-hmm. So the other guy that I want to bring up,
Toby.
Toby. I said Tony.
Almost.
Yep. Toby.
Sorry, Toby.
Toby Sumter. Sorry.
If you listen to this podcast, Toby, let us know. Let us know. We'd actually like for you to be on the podcast. I have no idea.
We have 155 subscribers, so watch out.
Take that cross politics.
All right, so Toby Sumter, he has a really helpful video on sloth.
The animal?
Not the animal.
Okay.
Laziness, being a sluggard.
Just making sure.
All right. If you go on YouTube and you look up Toby Sumter, work as hard as you can. It's like a, 6-7 minute video. Very, very helpful. Very, very good video. And the basic point that he's trying to make is that the Bible's main concern, if you read the Proverbs, there's at least 14 different warnings about being lazy, like being a sluggard, being slothful. That's the concern that the author of Proverbs has. There is not a warning in scripture saying, thou shalt not work too hard lest you burn out, because that's not your natural tendency.
Right.
Your natural tendency is towards laziness, which is what you just said.
Absolutely.
So, I would recommend you go look that up. All right. So the Bible doesn't set a slow pace versus fast pace framework.
I think this is super important for us to understand, because it is easily going to get caught up in this. So you're saying we should have a fast paced life? No, reframing everything.
Yeah.
You're reframing this idea to fit biblical standards, not what we see in today's culture.
We're ditching old or modern buckets and going back to older buckets.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. All right. So instead of slow versus fast, we need to think in diligence versus sloth.
Right.
And I wish I would have gone into more research on this, but the etymology. So if you look into the word diligence and the root word that it comes from, it has to do with like making choices, like to choosing this thing rather than this thing. And I would argue that diligence, so choosing what you're trying to do. Most people feel stressed out with their fast-paced lives. It's not because of the pace, but it's because they're moving without purpose and choice.
Absolutely.
They feel out of control. It's not the fact that we're actually moving quickly. It's the fact that we don't know why we're moving and we have to move, and that kind of feeling. We're feeling overwhelmed because we don't have control of the situation.
Right. Yeah. What is your purpose in life? Where are you aiming for? Go that way. And this fast-pacedness, I think, will leave a Christian. Like, that won't be in your mind. So just for example, like we have this idea of like our direction is turning the world upside down by the lordship of Christ. Our idea is in our work, how are we doing that? Like, we're very intentional. We have bigger goals. Like, where is this business going? Where are you going with your family? We have purpose. I had this idea for an app. People would say like, oh, this is too fast paced. Well, I spent a lot of time actually developing it. I think I might have something ready to go in 2 weeks. That's insane. But again, my purpose, I'm not leaving anything out on the table. I'm not neglecting my family. I know how to rearrange my work at the office, my daily work, to make this work, because I have purpose.
Yeah. I
might be a little bit busier here and there, but it's no big deal. I don't consider this a fast paced life. I enjoy what I do, but the bigger purpose, I can see it.
Yeah. So, the Bible has a lot of what I'm calling and statements. So things that a lot of people would try to pit against each other. And the Bible says, do all these different things. Okay. So, just a couple, I'm going to run through these pretty fast.
Go for it.
All right. So the Bible would urge you to have urgency and be content. So Ephesians 5:16, make the best use of the time. That speaks to urgency because the days are evil. But also Philippians 4:11, I have learned in whatever situation I am to be content. So you need to have this sense of urgency and a sense of contentment. You need to both work and rest. That's the fourth commandment. And we could probably pause here. We'll come back to this in a second.
Okay.
So 6 days you shall labor, but the seventh is a Sabbath of rest. So we're seeing a rhythm for both work and rest. There is not, we need to have a good balance of both.
Right.
And also in that conversation, we need to talk about the holidays in Israel's history. They have quite a few holidays that also demanded rest as well. So in addition to the weekly Sabbath, there was at least 3 pilgrimages where they had to, like, basically, it's not a family vacation. It's a little bit different than a family vacation because there was more intention and purpose behind it. More of a reconnecting with God rather than just a cessation of normal life.
Right.
And then also diligence and dependence. So Proverbs 13:4, the soul of the diligent is richly supplied. So diligence. And Psalm 127, 1-2, unless the Lord builds the house, in vain you rise early and go late to rest. So the reason I bring all those up is because in this conversation, a lot of times people will take one of those and really emphasize it and really push it and kind of leave the other one off to the side. So we need to think in terms of so it's not, am I going to live a life of dependence on the Lord, or am I going to live a life of diligence and choosing what direction, be proactive, what direction I need to go? It needs to be both.
That's a really good point.
All right. So can we,
how to not live a frantic life.
yeah, I guess we'll go there. We'll bring up the fourth commandment.
Yeah.
And
I mean, we can do that whenever you want
let's
to.
go ahead and let's go. All right. So let's get into the nitty gritty. How to not live a frantic life.
Okay.
So what do we need to do? First off, you need to structure your life to be a peaceful life. Okay. You need to create structure around it.
Yeah.
And I am going to look to the structure that Yahweh gives Israel as good advice.
Okay.
I'm not going over this to put a burden on people who don't want to live a lifestyle that's structured the same way. I'm just saying, if this was God's idea for the people of Israel, it's probably a good idea. So I would recommend you don't stray too far away from this, but again, don't feel the burden.
Yes.
This is a gift to you, not a burden for you. All right. So we see in the fourth commandment, 6 days of labor, 1 day of rest. And I think in a lot of the conversations I've had with people, for some people, the 1 day of rest is the struggle. Like, I have to take 1 day off every week. Well, imagine what I could do with that 1 day. But most of the people I know, it's the 6 days of labor, 6 days of work. That's a lot of work. Now, in labor here, this is also referring to household stuff too. So it's not just clocked in, 9 to 5 type of work.
Right.
This would be getting the laundry done and dishes and mowing the yard and repairing, that leaky faucet and that kind of stuff.
Right.
That's all wrapped up in the labor.
Right. So that means rest is also wrapped up in household chores as well.
Yeah.
Let your animals rest. And that's the fourth commandment. So don't try to set yourself up to where you're mowing the lawn. This is what we're saying. Not a burden again. Don't set yourself up to wait to do those household chores on your day of rest. That's the complete opposite. Take the day and rest and enjoy what the Lord has given you.
Along with that, it's important to keep in mind with the fourth commandment that while it is given to the individual to implement, it is primarily, most of it is speaking to people men that are managing other people and animals and that kind of thing. So as if you are a manager at work, you should feel the responsibility here to give your people rest. If you are working them 7 days a week, you are violating the fourth commandment.
Right. And as a manager, as a business owner, you know what overworked is.
Yeah.
Like, when you're overworking your people. Don't do that. That's just silly. I mean, now you're going to make them bad employees or team members, or
family members.
Exactly.
And again, because work has to do with household stuff too, you really need to take that into consideration. If you're working them 6 days and you give them a seventh day off, but did you give them any time to actually take care of their stuff outside of employment as well? So in addition to the ebb and flow of 6 days of work and 1 day of rest, they also had the holidays. So 3 pilgrimages. And these were not necessarily mandated for the entire family. Like, there was an option for just the man to go and to represent the family. So he would go to Jerusalem, and maybe if his wife just had a baby or something like that. But I think the expectation was for the whole family to go to Jerusalem. You see that in the beginning of the Gospels, where that's how Jesus gets left in Jerusalem, and his Mary and Joseph are like going back without him, right? So the expectation is for the whole family to go.
Yes.
But I would say that this is a very focused thing. It's not just we're gonna go to the beach and just watch movies or something like that. There's intention in the trying to reconnect with God in these situations. So if you're trying to take 3 holidays a year, that would be biblical. So keep that in mind. So that's the structure of life. Second thing is you want to get clear on what your purpose and direction for life is. In other words, you need to have your priorities figured out.
Right. And this will help you feel like you're not overworked. I think the pushback would be like, well, so you're just saying I just need to be doing work and labor all the time. Well, what about my family? This fixes this.
Yes.
What is your responsibility? It's like your family is part of that. You don't need to be working to where you neglect your family. Then your lack of direction, then you don't have direction. You don't have that you're not living up to that purpose that God has given you.
Yeah. So if you feel like you are overwhelmed and you lack that direction, then what I'd recommend is as soon as possible, pull out your phone on your calendar or whatever it is you use to, if you structure your time, and block out, I don't know, how many hours do you think? Like it's gotta be a good portion of time, and like, paper, pen, and write this stuff out and get some good direction on what your priorities are.
Right. I'd say 2 hours. You'll spend an hour just dilly-dallying around, trying to find paper, trying to find a pen, making coffee. You get a notification on your phone, check that, just turn your phone off. But I would just block out 2 hours.
Yeah, that sounds good. The third thing, this is positive view of John Mark Comer. I like his phrasing, the ruthless elimination. So you want to ruthlessly eliminate non-essential activities. Now, this is if you're feeling overwhelmed, right? So we're not saying these activities that we're about to talk about are bad. We're just saying that if you are needing to start chopping things out of your life, there are some non-essential things that a lot of times people don't realize are non-essential, and they assume they have to be a part of your life. So before we get into the non-essential stuff, let's talk about the essential things.
That sounds great.
Okay. So essential part of your life, you cannot chop this one off, but weekly church attendance. That one's got to be there.
Good point.
Now, occasionally you'll be sick or some, weird thing, but just like it was Jesus's custom to go to the weekly Sabbath or to a weekly synagogue meeting, it should be your weekly custom to go to church. Don't chop that one out. I don't care how busy your life is. Like, make that one happen. Second one, teaching your children diligently. And I don't really have a specific, like, okay, this needs to take 3 hours a day or 30 minutes a day or anything like that. But someone should be able to look at your life and it be abundantly evident that you are diligent, not accidental, not as it comes up, but you're diligent about teaching your children.
Absolutely.
Any comments on that?
No, I think that's good. It doesn't have to be super structured, but it is essential. Don't cut that out.
Yep.
Absolutely.
A third thing is providing for your family. So again, you can't cut that one out. It doesn't matter how busy you are. Right. You've got to make sure you're providing for your family.
Absolutely. I do want to add one in so someone just doesn't think that all you're talking about is, you're overwhelming me with all these essential activities. Well, you need to rest in there. That's an essential activity as well. So we're not neglecting the rest. So we're not making the overcorrection the other way. Yeah. We're just saying it needs to be, the ratio needs to be good. 6 days labor, 1 day rest. Rest needs to be in there, but it needs to be proportional to what God has laid out.
Yep. All right. So non-essential activities. Again, these could be good things. We're not saying you should get rid of these things. We're saying if you are overwhelmed and you're having to go to the chopping block and figure out what has to go, consider these things.
These are a good place to start. You can add them back in at a different time, but these are good places to start.
All right. Amusement. This is not the same thing as rest, right? So if you feel like you have to watch Netflix every night, do you though? You know what I'm saying? The word amusement right there. If you break down that word, to muse means to think. The prefix a is no. So amusement is no thinking. It may not even be restful if you're just kind of shutting down your brain. There are ways to still be engaged as a family. And we almost had someone walk in the building.
That would have been close.
Yeah. All right. So there are ways to engage in good rest as a family. That's not amusement. So amusement might be a good one to chop off, right?
Yeah.
The second one. All right. I'm going to start attacking the American Idol here.
I hope you're sitting down.
Sports. Sports are not mandated by Scripture. Parents who are overwhelmed with your life, I just want you to know that you could pull your kid from every single sports activity and you are not hating your child. And you could show them a lot of love by giving them a life that is purposeful and not frantic.
Go ahead and send your emails to hatemail@the176podcast.com.
Sports can have a lot of good outcomes. I just want to make it really clear. The Bible does not command you to have your kids in sports, and your kids will grow up just fine, never having participated a single day in any sport, any organized sport, I should say that. Okay. Third one. A lot of times what we think are necessary things to be a good provider for your household are actually just luxuries. Okay. And we might think, I need to work extra long to provide this for my family. But do you actually need to provide that for your family? Or is that just kind of like you live in a first world and you're trying to live a very, very rich lifestyle? Would it be better just to kind of cut back a little bit and take some sacrifices? So bigger house. Does every kid need their own room? Could you devote more time to better things by stacking some kids in a room?
I think it's great to stack kids in a room. All 3 of my kids share a room right now. There might be 4 kids in a room. Yeah, that's a lot of kids.
We also have 3 kids in a room. So, vacation. Now there's pilgrimages, but a lot of the vacations that we take are very expensive because we feel like we have to travel very far ways away. And, if you want to be a good head of household, that means you have to hop on a plane once or twice a year and, go to the beach or that kind of thing. And, no, you can have restful, deviations from the ordinary routine of life, that are incredibly inexpensive.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you don't have to be up to date on all the different technology. Your kids will not perish and be socially stunted because they don't have all the top-notch technology.
Yeah, that's very true.
Okay, so
I like this last one though.
All right. Another non-essential thing. So I mentioned earlier that there's an essential activity, weekly church attendance. A non-essential activity would be all the different church programs. Okay. If you go to church,
you can send your hate mail at hatemail@the176podcast.com. We'll make sure we get it to Zach.
Yeah. If you go to church once a week and you worship with God's people on Sunday morning, and that's all the church, official, structured church that you do, that's okay. That is perfectly fine. If you need to, hold a pause on all the extra Bible studies and all the worship nights and all the different stuff, that is okay. Don't feel like you are sinning or not being a radical follower of Jesus. That might be the season of life you were in.
Yeah, that's very true.
Okay, so sometimes all the different church programs can cause us to live a frantic life, and we don't want you to do that.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any further comments before I have my little closing out thing?
No, that's good. I like this. I think this help us think through this idea of slow pace versus fast pace, which is not even a framework that we need to adopt as Christians. We need diligence versus slothfulness.
Yeah.
Really read through Proverbs.
Yeah.
This is Proverbs-esque.
Yeah.
This whole idea. So if there is any pushback, definitely tell us in the comments, 100%, because we want to think through this with you.
Yeah.
But also just some, advice, whatever, just some guidance. Yeah, that's a better word, guidance. Read through Proverbs, and that'll help you get a grip on this idea of diligence versus slothfulness. So yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So my concern with the slow living movement is that it's going to dress up sloth in an elegant suit. We aren't going to produce the Josephs, Daniels, and Nehemiahs in Jesus. We're going to have men who journal about how burnt out they are because they had to be useful this week.
Yeah, and that's what we were trying to guard against. We're pushing back against that overcorrection. Absolutely. All right. The Bible doesn't give you a lifestyle of fast living or slow living. It gives you a rhythm. 6 days of dominion, 1 day of delight. Feasts that form the soul, labor that builds the world. Slowness is not holiness. Hurry is not sin. Laziness is. Aimlessness is. Distraction is. Let's stop pretending we're overwhelmed because we're moving too fast. We're overwhelmed because we're chasing things God never told us to chase. You were made to be like Jesus, and Jesus wasn't slow. He healed, he taught, he worked. He walked fast enough to turn the world upside down in 3 years. He moved with urgency, with peace, with purpose, and he never wasted a moment. So here's your charge. Work hard, rest deep, cut the fluff, burn bright, not out. Don't just slow down. Don't just speed up. Live on purpose, live under Christ, live in such a way that when the world looks at you, they say, that guy walks like he knows the King. We'll see you next time. Keep turning the world upside down by the Lordship of Christ.
Hey, thanks for watching this episode of the 176 podcast, where we help you turn the world upside down by the Lordship of Christ. Please share, comment, like the video on whatever platform you've been viewing this on, and we'll see you next time.